Good afternoon to everyone. I'm going to talk you through the BTEC IT courses that we offer to help you make a decision about what you want to do for next academic year. I'll try to be as thorough as I can. There will be a Q&A session for you to ask questions, and I'll try my best to answer as many as I can. Once I've done that, I'll pass you over to my colleague, and she'll talk to you about some of the programming courses that we do, okay? All right, so before I do that, a bit about myself. My name is Dharmesh Vagela. I teach on the level 3 IT BTEC courses, ranging from the extended certificate right the way through to extended diploma. I've got a degree in computer science, and I've also got a bit of background in business industry as well. So I try to bring that into IT wherever possible by creating scenarios that you could probably use out in the real world. Okay, so what courses do we offer? So we offer the BTEC Extended Certificate. That's a 2-year course, like all of the BTEC courses. It's 4 sessions a week, and it's equivalent to 1 A level. Now, if you do that, you also need to pick 2 other extended certificates, alternatively ASs. So at the end of 2 academic years, you come out with 3 A levels, and that would give you the UCAS points to go to university or alternatively apprenticeship. The second course that we offer is the BTEC Diploma. That's 8 sessions a week. And across 2 years, it's 2 A levels. This course is predominantly for students that want to do computer science at university, or they want to take a computing line. It's a bit more specific. I'll talk about the course content on the next slide. And then we offer the extended diploma. The extended diploma is equivalent to 3 A levels. So if you pick the extended diploma, that is your full timetable. There wouldn't be opportunities to look at other subjects. Again, this is aimed at students that want to do software engineering at university, networking, computer science, and there are universities that will accept BTEC as UCAS prerequisites. Right, so the content now, depending on which course you select, you'll learn a number of things. I've tried to pick out some of the mandatory content. Again, by no means is this an exhaustive list, so it's not just the things that we cover, there's plenty of other things that we do as well. But generally in the first year, you'll be looking at database design, create and maintain. So this is where you'll be given a scenario, you'll be able to extrapolate the relevant information, create an entity relationship diagram, and then create a fully working functional database in Microsoft Access. Also, you'll be doing research in IT use and its impact on society. I mean, given the circumstances that we're in at the moment, you see the importance of IT and how it's played a crucial role in sustaining a normal life, I guess. Research impacts of social media and learn how to develop marketing campaigns for a business scenario. So I know pretty much all of my students today do have an Instagram account. Well, these platforms can be used by businesses and to maximize their revenues by making sure that the promotion goes directly to their target audience. So how to use that, how to make campaigns to make sure that your target audience gets the message that you want them to have. Generally in the second year, sometimes depending on what course you're doing. So if you're doing the diploma, you'll be looking at either website design and creation or data models in spreadsheets. So website design and creation, you'll be using things like HTML, CSS, JavaScript. You'll be designing templates, conversing with your client. So following the business scenario, you'll be talking to a makeshift client. They'll be giving you feedback, so you'll be making changes. So it's a pretty hands-on, but you also need to supplement the hands-on element with planning, showing that you've kept a diary, logs, keeping information of the dialogue that's taken place. So there's a variety, and the way things are assessed as well differs. So let me go on to that as well now. So how are these units assessed? Well, we have external units that are assessed externally. These are written exams. They can be a synoptic exam. So for Unit 2, the database unit, that's a 5-hour synoptic exam. You go in and you actually build a database, and it is online. Yeah. Generally, this happens over a period of few days, but it is something that you actually do. You're going to physically build a database. Then there's internal units. This is supplemented with written essays. You'll be doing practical work where either you're building a website or a data model. You'll be doing presentations. So you need to make sure that you're very well organized. The way the overall grades are given are in four ways. Distinction star, if you've got a majority of distinctions. This also depends on which course you've gone with. A distinction, merit, and a pass. Yeah, those are 4 grades. And generally we say to our students, minimum you want to be focusing on is achieving a merit. And with hard work and patience and dedication, that generally does happen. Okay, so you've done the course and you've picked one of the courses. You've done the 2 years, and you're thinking, well, okay, what do I do with this? Where can I go from completing one of these courses? Well, if you're thinking about going to university, some of the courses that would be offered is computing, networking, courses around IT, computer science, information systems. One of my former students last academic year enrolled on to software engineering after completing the extended diploma, the 3A level course. So that's a bit more specific. It's a bit more technical. Alternatively, you may think, well, you know what? I've tried the academic route. I want to take on my knowledge onto an industry. Well, you can look at apprenticeship programs where IT technician requirements are usually level 3 achievement. So by completing a level 3 program, academically, you would be suited for that particular look at website development, networking. Again, this is not an exhaustive list. There are plenty of other options you can look at because it's dependent on your UCAS points, you see. I always say to my students that GCSEs are a ticket to college, while college is a ticket to university, and university being a ticket to a good occupation, I guess. Right, moving on. So what are the entry requirements? You like the sound of it, and you want to know what are the entry requirements. Well, we look at 5 level 2 courses at grade 4 and above, including GCSE maths and English. I cannot stress how important maths and English are, not just for IT, but across other courses as well. So you really want to be focusing and strengthening your maths and IT, your numeracy skills. Level 2 IT or computing is desirable, but it's not necessary. So don't think that if you don't have level 2 IT, you can't apply. You can, but you do want to be looking at five courses at grade 4 and above. Yeah. Okay. If you have any questions, please ask. Okay. Okay, so I've got a few questions, and I'll answer them as I get them. So before the actual presentation started today, we were asked a few questions. I want to go through them first. What does employability mean? Employability means you're going to be taught employable skills that you can use in industry. Yeah. So one of them is communication, understanding how to communicate when you're speaking with a client, how to communicate if you're speaking to a member of staff or one of your peers, how to communicate. Also time management, being able to make sure that if there is a task that you've actually identified, you need to prioritize it and then you need to manage the time around it. Have you kept a diary? So these are all employability skills that you've learned to take into industry. So what sort of things will we be learning? Well, I went through the content. I didn't go through all the content because it all depends on which course you decide to go with. But if you want some more information or you've decided that there's a course you'd like to do and you want to know what units are involved, then send admissions an email. they'll forward me, myself, or my colleagues that information, and we'll respond accordingly. Yeah. So what? Okay. So one other thing is, no, I've answered that and I've answered that. Okay. So right, let's have a look at these live Q&A questions. What are the hardest topics are going to be there? The thing is, it's very difficult to say this is hard. There are some topics which are technical. So that means you're going to be doing a bit of programming. You're going to be doing a bit of calculations. You'll be setting up a database. You'll be doing the design of entity relationship diagrams. Some people find that easier than maybe doing essay writing. And then there are unit 1, which is a written exam, a 2-hour written exam. Some learners find that a bit more challenging. So it's an all-rounder. There isn't anything specifically that this is the toughest topic. I hope that answers your question. Is this the same as computer science? No, it's not the same as computer science. IT and computer science are very different topics. Computer science, you're going to be looking at a lot of technical programming techniques, which my colleague will go into in the next session. Okay, what's the exam board for it? So we use Excel Pearson's. All right, let's have a look. So what programming languages do we use? We use, for Unit 4, we use Python. Programming is generally done in our second year, so year 2. However, it depends. If you pick the extended diploma, you'll be doing Unit 4 in the first year. Bear with me, guys. I'm trying to be as fast as I can and be thorough as I can. Excuse me. Does combined science count as 3 separate subjects, which would mix into our English math subject? So does that count as 5 GCSEs? Yes. Will I be finding IT level 3? Oh, hang on. I did computer science GCSE. Will I be fine doing IT level 3? Well, as long as you meet the prerequisites, I mean, just doing computer science GCSE on its own, you wouldn't sufficiently meet the prerequisites to be on the course. So that supplement with other GCSEs, including maths and English, would mean that you would meet the prerequisites to do the course, which generally means that you should be okay to complete this course successfully as long as you attend and do the work that's been set. All right, next question. I'm just gonna look at my stopwatch. Okay, so I still got a bit more time. Because, hang on, because I'm doing ICT and business, how do these topics link? Right, so you're doing IT and business. Business use a lot of spreadsheets. One of the units that we deliver is Unit 5, which is data modeling, where you produce a model in spreadsheets, and by looking at the input of the user, it gives you different scenarios, and that supplements the decision-making process. So there are very good links between business and how IT can be used to solve business problems, I guess, at times. Okay. Do you have to know the basis of IT, or do we learn from scratch? You learn from scratch. You will learn from scratch. Ideally, you want to have level 2 IT, but again, it's not a requirement. You'll be given a lot of opportunities to be working on projects that will require you to be working on a computer. Okay. What is the best course if I want to be a data scientist? IT would be good. Alternatively, you could also combine an extended certificate with another 2 courses. But again, the best thing to do over there would maybe to have a conversation with a careers advisor and they would be able to direct you in the best way given your circumstances on how to become a data scientist. Okay, are we going to do courseworks in IT? Yeah, there will be coursework that you will be required to complete. There may be full assignments which will cover an entire unit. Alternatively, there may be a unit that's split up into several sections. No. Is there an A-level ICT course? No, we offer the BTEC IT courses, again, which is equivalent to A-level UCAS points. So again, if you look at the slides, again, if you need further clarification, send an email to admissions. But we offer the BTEC IT, the extended certificate, which is equivalent to one A-level across 2 years. I hope I'm not going too fast. Okay. What books are needed for computer science? That's a conversation you may want to have with my colleague Ngutu. She'll be on live next after me, and she'll be covering computer science. Okay. We've still got a few more minutes, folks. If you guys want to ask some questions, I'll be happy to answer. Yeah. Okay, folks. Nice to talk with everyone, and best of luck.
Hello there. My name is Ingrid Palmer, and I'll be talking to you about computer science. If I can just get my presentation up, give me a few minutes, please. Right, hello there. So my name is Ingrid Palmer. I'm one of the computer science teachers. And in my presentation today, I hope to give you a feel for what computer science is all about. I'm hoping that most of you have previously attended our open day sessions and therefore have some idea about what the entry grades are, but I'll be going through that as well. So if I start with just describing what computer science is in general, it is a technical subject. And by that, I mean it has its specialities. You'd be leaving computer science with certain skills. And most of the technical aspects of computer science are to do with something described as computational thinking. So computational thinking basically underpins all the work that's done in computer science, and we cover a lot of that. Things like problem solving, programming. In fact, programming and coding, I would say, is the heart of everything that's done in computer science. There are a few other things that we do, but you'll find that it tends to link or come back to coding and problem solving and finding solutions. There are a few topics that look at what goes on inside the computer. And that's important because it's all very well learning how to code, but then if you encounter a problem, it does help to have that understanding of what's going on behind the scenes. So it's basically gives you the opportunity to make the connections between what you're doing on the front end and understanding what happens behind. In terms of entry requirements, we have the normal college requirements. And for English, you'd need to have a 5, GCSE English 5, and a grade 6 in mathematics. You don't need to have done GCSE Computer Science or any ICT course, although it is welcomed. Now, sometimes students get a bit apprehensive about not having done GCSE Computer Science, because I would say the vast majority of students that go on to do A-level computer science have done it at GCSE level. However, I'd like to reassure you that as long as you have got the interest, if you've got strong problem-solving skills, if you've got good maths, if you're strong at maths, it really doesn't matter that you haven't done computer science at GCSE. So I hope you'd be reassured by that. I've previously had students who haven't done GCSE computer science, And initially, yes, it is a little bit difficult in that first term as you settle in. But once you've got the hang of what's required, students have gone on to, excel basically, even though they previously hadn't done GCSE computer science. So please be reassured by that. The examination board that we use is OCR. And the OCR specification is split into 3 components. 2 of the components are examined by a written exam, and I'll talk about that in the next slide. One of the components focuses on looking on theory aspects in computer science. So this is where we look at, I was talking about looking at the workings of the computer. So a lot of that work is covered in this first component. We touch a little bit on other things that you might describe as being ICT type topics. So things like looking at the legal and ethical issues concerning the use of computers. We also do a little bit of website development, and you develop just a few skills, writing programs or writing code for websites using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. The second component is focused mainly on developing those coding skills. So a lot of the content there looks at algorithms, and with algorithms, you're able to then problem solve. And then the third component is a project. It's an independent project, it's a programming project, and it's basically builds on the coding skills you have covered in the second component. So I talked a bit about the assessments. I said 2 were written exams. The exams are quite long, 2 hours, 30 minutes. In terms of weighting, each of the written exams makes up 40% of your overall qualification, and the project makes up 20% of the overall project. Now, I said I was going to try and give you a feel for what computer science is all about, and I said how people that enjoy problem solving, people that are good at maths, generally tend to make good scientists. So if I give you an example of a few problems, just give you a feel for what kind of things we do. Some of them are mathematical in nature, but they don't have to be. So this first one that I'm showing you is, I took it from a website called Project Euler. Project Euler is a website that presents problem-solving tasks to math students and computer science students. So that first one there is looking to find a solution to finding multiple numbers, multiples of 3 and 5 that are below a certain value. So if you were presented with that, in computer science, the expectation would be for you to find a coding solution to find the answer to that question. So how do you find the sum of all multiples of 3 and 5 below 1,000, for example? Okay, so that just gives you an example. Another one, Fibonacci. If you've heard of the Fibonacci series, it works out the next number in a series by adding the previous 2. So if we look at these numbers that are displayed here, if I was to work out what's the next number in the series, 1 plus 2 gives me 3, 2 and 3 gives me 5, and so forth and so on. So in computer science, as a coder, you learn the skills to write a solution to problems similar to the ones that I've shown you. In terms of progression, most students tend to go to higher education and would do programs like computer science, games programming, any of the engineering areas, maths teaching. But to be honest, you do get some students that take A-level computer science, not because they're interested in doing any of those areas I've listed. You can basically go on to do anything that you want with computer science. So I'm just giving you a few examples of where students would progress to. If you're not thinking of going to university, higher apprenticeships, some students prefer to go straight into the workplace, and the skills that you get from computer science do prepare you for anything to do with computing, whether it's website development, whether it's coding, network, there are quite a few opportunities there. I thought it'd be useful to show you some examples of work that's been done by our students previously. So let me just bring this up. So this is a website that was designed, it's been designed over the years by different groups of students. And websites is just a small part of what we do. And I'll just pick a few examples. I just need to pick, yeah, so these are from different year groups. And they were given the task to use their HTML, CSS, and JavaScript coding. And that's what they've produced. Okay, I'm just randomly picking. Okay, that one didn't have anything there. I should have picked one that had something. Yeah, so that's one example. Another example I'll show you is on the coding side of things. So I mentioned how there's a programming project which makes up 20% of your final assessment. And this game that I'm showing you was written by a student who hadn't actually done GCSE Computer Science, made very good progress with it. He wrote it using Java. And this is the game that he produced. I'm not sure if I can play it now. There you go. So that's just one example. And it was quite pleasing to see how this student had developed from previously not having done computer science before and moving on to do that. Okay. In terms of getting ready for A-level computer science, this year we are going to be coding using C#. I hope you've all received the taster activity which was shared earlier on. If not, please get in touch with the college and ask for the taster activity for computer science. So in there, I've put some suggestions on how you could prepare, learning how to code in C#, and there are different suggestions I've made. If you're somebody that hasn't previously done GCSE computer science, then one of those options is tailored, suggested for you to use the solo learn. Yeah, so I've tried to target the different levels. So please, if you do need to have a copy of that taster activity, get in touch with the college and it will give you some suggestions. But my advice would be over the summer holiday, just do it in small bite sizes, and that will give you a head start. I've listed a few questions that are frequently asked, but please feel free to ask any more. So I've mentioned how we'll be using C# this year as a programming language. It doesn't matter that you haven't coded before. In terms of preparing for starting in September, I would suggest you make a start with learning how to code in C#. Software, obviously we need software to write code, and most of this software, actually all of the software we need, is provided by the college. And we tend to use software that's free, open source software. So you'll be able to download all the software that you need on your home computers as well. Okay, so I think that covers everything I wanted to share. I hope that's given you some insight into what computer science is all about. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them now. Okay, so I'm just checking answers, questions rather. Do we learn both Python and C# in A-level computer science? No, we don't. We learn, it will be C#. However, for the programming project, students can choose any programming language. So if you wanted to do your programming language, sorry, your programming project using Python, you can do that. And what other A-level courses will combine well with computer science? Maths goes really nicely with computer science. So in fact, for students that are considering carrying on with computer science at university, the universities actually look more at your maths than they do with the computer science. So I'd really recommend taking maths or computer science. But of course, that's not mandatory. other subjects like business, economics, or there's electronics as well. So you can basically pick anything that, you know, anything that's of interest to you. Is anyone allowed to help us when we are doing our coding exam? You don't get a coding exam. It's called a project. It's an independent project. You work on it, you can work on it at home, but we do have to see evidence in the classroom that, you know, the work that you're doing is your own. So we'll give you all the support to develop the skills that you need, but you are allowed to work on it at home. Okay, I hope that answers your question. How many sessions a week does computer science A-level usually take? With our current timetable, all A-levels are timetabled for 4 lessons a week. However, as you know, with the current situation we're in, we're not yet quite sure what things would be like in September. But in general, it has been 4 lessons per week. Is there exam board for computer science OCR? Yes, it is. So we use OCR for computer science. I've just started learning JavaScript. Should I finish learning this and then learn C#? Yeah, if you've done the JavaScript, I'm not sure whether you're doing that as part of the activity, the taster activity I gave. I would say if you've done a little bit of it, then yes, perhaps that's enough, and you can then move on to learning C#. Because JavaScript only forms a small part of what we do at A-level. So I'll say yes, make a start with the C#. Isn't C# used in Unity and not a standalone programming language? I'll say it's the other way around. Unity uses C#, and Unity is tailored for games development. So C# came first, and Unity uses C#. So Unity is just one of the IDEs used for games development. How's the course examined? So it's 2 written exams worth 40% each and 20% for a programming project. Would you need to bring in your own personal device for the project, or would the device be provided? The college provides computers. All the A-level computer science teaching happens in a classroom, a computer room. But of course, as I said, we're not sure about September. Almost certainly, you know, you would be coming into the college anyway. So yes, you'd be provided with computers at the college. Would you recommend me doing computer science even though my coding skills aren't necessarily strong? If you've got the interest, if you're really interested in computer science, you like problem solving, if you've got the maths, then I'd say why not? Okay, so you will be developing your coding skills. And I've mentioned how I've had previous students that haven't previously done it, and they have gone on to do well. Can we use Stack Overflow sometimes, but then explain your understanding in comments? Absolutely. I mean, even in the real world, programmers, software developers, you know, resort to finding answers on the computer, going onto the web, so that's fine. You know, it's helpful. We learn from other people's answers. So yes, that's fine. Would learning C++ help? I would say, well, I'll say for now, it's better to focus just on one programming language. So I wouldn't try and learn C++ as well. That's probably something that you can aspire to learn later, because typically most software developers would have about 3-4 programming languages under their belt. So if software development is something that's of interest to you, I would say, you know, by learning one language in your A-levels, you can then move on and pick up another after. Will we use, what other programming languages will we use? Well, the main programming language is going to be C#. JavaScript, you could classify as a programming language, but JavaScript is only going to take up a very small amount of the learning that we do. So it's primarily C#. But as I said earlier, if you wanted to use another programming language for your project, then you're allowed to do that. That's fine as well. What kind of maths is in computer science? Right, it's mostly to do with number systems. So looking at how data is represented in the computer. So I'm talking about things like binary, hexadecimal, how are decimal numbers stored? So there's something called floating point numbers. So it's developing that understanding for how the computer would handle things like decimal numbers. Because if you think about it, computers only understand binary, ones and zeros. So how on earth is a decimal number stored, and how are calculations done? So that's the sort of thing that we learn about and understand. Is C# helpful for data science, or better to concentrate on Python, R, and MATLAB? I'd say for data science, any programming language really. Some programming languages lend themselves better towards scientific type applications. In answer to your question, I would say any programming language really. I wouldn't say C# is necessarily better or Python is. So yeah, it depends really. For the final project, do we get to choose a task out of a set, or is it one set task that we all have to work on? You choose your own project. And this is what students like about it, and what I like about it actually. So you're not given a set to choose from. It's up to you to choose something, anything that's of interest to you. I'll give you the guidance as to whether what you've chosen is suitable, because obviously you have to choose something that is suitable within the guidelines given in the specification. And what IDE is used for C# in school? We're using Visual Studio. So Visual Studio is what we're using. We've also got Unity actually. Unity, we use it for those students that want to do games development. Somebody's asking about what we'll be covering in the course. Well, the course, I'll just summarize what I've already described. It's made up of 3 components. 2 of the components are theory. For one of the components, the theory that's looked at is topics like computer architecture. We do a bit on databases. There's legal stuff. Understanding the workings of a computer operating system. So there's quite a lot of theory topics there. The second component is based on algorithms and problem solving, and that's tied in with the programming side of computer science. Hope that answers that question. And if you want further details, I think that's Mewish. If you want further details, please have a look on our website. There's a summary of the topics that are covered for the computer science course. Is Python still going to be useful, or should I forget about it? Once you learn how to code, you never forget about it. It's a bit like riding a bicycle. So if you've previously programmed in Python, I wouldn't say forget about it. It will underpin you learning other programming languages later on. In preparation for the A-level computer science at WQE, I would say perhaps start learning C#, using the links that have been provided in the taster session activity that we sent you. Is GCSE computer science similar to A-level computer science? The structure is similar and the topics are similar, but A-level computer science goes into a lot more depth. So there are a few topics that you would have done at GCSE computer science that are covered at A-level computer science, but with a lot more depth. If I was just to give you a feel actually on the programming side, so if you've done GCSE computer science, you've probably programmed using Python. In the A-level computer science specification is a programming paradigm. Paradigm is just a style of programming called object-oriented programming. Now that's new at A-level. It's not something that you'd have covered at GCSE. Something else that I know is covered at GCSE is looking at the computer architecture, fetch, decode, execute cycles. What are the components inside a processor? At A-level, we look at that in a lot of detail. trying to really get to understand what happens down to the register level. Yeah, so it's just in the detail. There's a lot more detail at A level. After A-level computer science, what opportunities are available if you take an apprenticeship? Well, lots of opportunities in employment. Look at what's happening today. You know, there's a great need for computer scientists, coders, programmers. So you almost certainly won't be short of a job, I don't think, having done computer science. Okay, I've just got 4 more questions and then I'll be finished. Can I represent my project that I've already written before and just modify it and make it better and not do it from scratch? For the A-level project, you are allowed to use an existing program, but you must develop that existing program that you're starting off with. So we'd need to see evidence that you are writing your own code and developing it from something that you've started off with. How many students usually get an A-star? Percentage-wise, now I'm just getting this figure off the top of my head. Probably about 5 to 10% of students would have gotten A-star. This is from previous years. Is Java similar to C#? In some ways, yes, in terms of it being an object-oriented programming language. So yes, the structure is the same. Does physics fit well or electronics fit better? That's down to your interest. Either of those would fit nicely with computer science. Would I need to download Visual Studio? I'd recommend it. It's free, so why not? And that gives you time to, the opportunity to practice a bit more. Does computer science go well with business or accounting? I'd say both. Maybe I'd be inclined to lean more towards business than accounting. But again, it's, you know, your personal choice. Right. I hope that answers all your questions. And if not, please, you know, do send us an email or something, and we can give you further information. Okay, then. Thank you. I'm going to hand back to my colleague. Okay. Thank you. Goodbye.